It was about 4 o'clock on a Halloween night. 3 of my friends and I had been trick-or-treating for over 2 hours. In our sacks we carried candy bars, lollipops, sugar sticks, any candy you can imagine. Each time we rang a doorbell and shouted trick-or-treat, the bags of candy got heavier and heavier. The sun began to sink into the sky, but we had only a few more blocks to go. Soon we approached an old black shingled house. It was clearly under poor management, probably none at all. It gave Sally, Jack, Louie, and I the chills. But what would Halloween be without a spooky house? In a single-file line, we slowly marched up to the steps. On the wicket porch there lied an empty orange bowl, with a sign pinned to it, "Take one." It said in big letters. A frown grew upon all of our faces. We had to get as much candy as possible. Jack was at the head of the line, so we nominated him to go up to the wooden door and ask for some more. With each step, he took a squeaking noise from the floorboards, and he rolled his hand into a fist and pounded on the door as hard as he could. We all stood for a split second, only paying attention to the door. Without attendants, the door slowly crept open. It was dark and cold inside. We began to walk inside without any consultation among the 5 of us, almost like we knew all of us had to go inside. The door stayed wide open, but no light shined into the house, so it was necessary to flicker on a light. It was a small lamp, not much bigger than a tennis racket, but it worked. There were spider webs everywhere. Things were smashed and broken on the floor, and the wallpaper had been torn off the walls. Bam! The door shut behind us. Our hearts beat frantically, and our mouths flew open. We heard a small whisper, so we jolted up the stairs. The upstairs was the most frightening feature of the house. There were old paintings on the walls, plastic sheets were gently placed on the furniture, and everything looked too haunted and too fragile to touch. Whispers from each of us were traveling from ear to ear. "Let's just go," Jack admitted. "We need to stay longer," Sally insisted. Then we came to a stop. A person, a faded and frail-looking person, sat facing backwards in a wide-open door. Not one noise, no movements came from either of us. We slowly stepped backward until plastic crinkled underneath the boots of my Halloween costume. Everyone's eyes shot straight at me, including the ghostly figure. The woman's head whipped around so creepily I thought I had been watching a movie. Mascara was running down her face as soon as she began to slowly stand up. Her eyes were glued to us. Jack ripped the rope off Louie's pirate's costume and attached it to each of ours. We jumped down the stairs as the woman continued to follow us. We reached the last step, and she swayed in the air and let out a growl. I thought to myself, what does she want? I couldn't think about it a second longer, or I knew I'd spend the rest of my life in this house. Sally sprinted towards the door and shook the doorknob left and right a million times. Pushing and pushing, nothing happened. Small tears began to run down her face, and she let out a small scream. On my count of 3, everyone ran at the door. 1, 2, 3. We all jumped at the door, and it flew open. I opened my eyes to find myself on the lawn underneath the harvest moon, with Jack, Sally, and Louie. I turned around very quickly, and the ghost looked frustrated, almost as if she would not leave. We all hopped off the door and sprinted home together. This would be one story we will never forget.